So we open this episode with a absolutely horrifying sweeping shots of the absolute carnage left from the huge battle we got in the previous episode. We hear the cries of the wounded and the treatment. We see them getting carried off boats, absolutely wrecked from the battle, with all the families waiting with the dock, seeing if their man, their dad, their brother made it home. Vikings, similarly to Game of Thrones, really does not glorify war, especially after the fact. The characters think really highly of it. They're like, I want to go to war, it's blood, it's guts, but they absolutely ruin us whenever we get a big battle like this. They make it bloody and gory and horrifying and something you don't look back fondly on. We didn't get as much intense kind of display of absolute gore as we did like in the Paris scenes, where we had dead bodies falling that were flaming into giant pits of water, people dying everywhere, absolute mayhem. But this episode we definitely do feel the loss of numbers, the loss of life, and the effect it will have on the entire Norway community. All of this is reinforced again when Lagertha rocks up to Hickman to see how he's doing. So right away, this kind of relationship that begins to form between Lagertha and Hickman, it just comes out of nowhere. Now this seems to be explained by the show because he has the hots for Lagertha and so he's trying to woo her over. But there has been endless theories in the comment section about how Iva has sent him out to kill Lagertha. Now the basic gist of your guys' comments were he got caught on purpose, he's trying to go over to Lagertha's side, pretend he's all loyal to her, betray her on the battlefield or assassinate her somewhere, killing off Lagertha, making it so Iva doesn't have to fight his brothers. Now it's possible this was a plan, but it has to have gone really south because there's no way Hickman planned to get knocked out but not quite killed and then not killed when he woke up by like Uber or anything like that. It was a very risky and really weird plan if that was what he was trying to do. And there's no reason he should believe that Lagertha would be interested in saving him or talking to him or interacting with him or whatsoever. But there was another interesting theory I saw, and someone was saying that Hickman may be Magnus. This is the boy that the chick that was from Mercia claimed was Ragnar's son, but really wasn't. He was raised in the household villa with King Lothbrok and Adolf and all that, believing he was a son of Ragnar. But it's discovered when Ragnar is captured and brought to King Lothbrok that Ragnar never actually had sex with his mother. He was then sent out by Adolf in quite an unceremonious way, where he was told to tell anyone he came across he was a son of Ragnar and he would be treated well and have a good life, but he just couldn't stay in the villa. Now the theory they propose is that he kind of goes off, removes his name, pretends he's a bishop, kind of climbs up, he's a warrior, but he still remembers his past. Now, I think this character is way too old to be this, but I thought it was a really interesting theory, and they could age it up a bit, but he should be around Alfred's age, not Hickman's age. Also, Adolf knew of his heritage and all that kind of stuff, so he would have seen him pretty quickly, and he would probably know about that, especially if he was going around saying he was a son of Ragnar. But if you guys believe any of these theories, then you can tell me in the comment section below why you do. So over back in Iva's camp, they're kind of disappointed with their loss. Harold's losing trust in Iva, not thinking he's a very good commander. And then Vixit comes with a really, really interesting request. He's like, you know what, can I just pop over to Rollo and Frank here and see if he's willing to help? Because, you know, he mentioned half-heartedly one time if we ever needed his help, he would come across. I know he loved Lagertha most of his life, and he's knew Bjorn since he was a child, and he has a way bigger relationship with those guys. But, you know, I've met him once. You haven't either, but I have. And he said he would help, so let's see if he will. And for some reason, they're all like, you know what? Telling Rollo about the Civil War is a brilliant idea. So after that, King Harold has a chat with Astrid, where she's like, you can't stop me from frying them this time. I know I'd make hardly any difference in the fight, and I'm pregnant with your heir and child, but I want to fight anyway, and you can't stop me. And Harold's like, alright. So over in Iceland, we have Davin still trying to undermine Floki's authority. So we're beginning to see the conflict in Iceland shift from Floki focus between these two kind of factions, this family here and Davin's family. Most of the actual conflict in this episode comes from Bull the dog, Davin's son, but clearly Davin's completely okay with everything that's happening, and he seems to have some kind of plan to divide everyone up. The whole arc of Iceland this season has been this kind of breaking of the myth that you can have some perfect society of loyalists or people who believe the same thing, because conflict always arises as people want to strive for more power, as people break promises, and the foundations of what people believe and what do start breaking down. Floki wanted this kind of lovey-dovey, everyone shares, everyone pitches in, kind of communal living where everyone was ultra-religious and believed the same things as him, but that's just not how things pan out when you have bad ideas and bad foundation for what everyone believes and what the life should be there. So all of this is kind of compounding onto Floki's already erratic and crazy psyche we've seen throughout this entire series. Floki is not a stable mind. And finally, we get to see him react. He cracks when the religious ceremony is broken apart. Floki was playing all cool and passive like, pretending to be some kind of mystic, come leading this community, but as soon as his religious area was attacked in any way, shape, or form, he just crumbled. I still think it'd be really cool to see if David and his family split off, went to Iceland, and took over that storyline we talked about previously, but if this other family that's also in charge and kind of backing Floki sees that Floki is not the person they want leading them, and they begin to take more charge of Iceland, making Floki more isolated and someone weird and queer off the corner, because they really seem to have a lot more clear idea and driving passion of what should happen in this community. So clearly Bjorn is not the only member of the Ragnar's family who is terrible with their dating and woman choices. I really like the way that Vikings always blurs a line between mythical, magical, vision-y stuff and just people's psyches going out a bit whacked. We know that she's seen Torvi and Uber kiss before, and she has those doubts in her mind for when they walked off in unison. So it makes sense for her to think that they could be cheating on her, and she had those suspicions, plus she's reminded of their presence from the children. So I actually quite like this plotline quite a lot. Even though this plotline is a bit distracting and weird on the side, I do like it because Torvi's a great actor, she's got a lot of history with the show, it's really cool to see her get more involved with the characters, and I really hope we get less of Queen Bitch. So with a skip and a hop, Vixen returns with tons of Frankish soldiers, all of whom are clearly very pleased to be travelling halfway across the world that they know, just to go to a land to fight for a civil war with people that they last remember attacking them and almost burning down their villages, raping their wives, and stealing their belongings. This whole Rollo thing is just so wrong. It feels like the motivations are all out of whack and there's something just not there. Rollo for sure will show up. He has so much unfinished business in his arc with Lagertha. He's got a huge connection to Bjorn. There's even theories that Bjorn is his son. Those are questionable, but he has a strong connection. He's been around all of Bjorn's life. He's been in love with Lagertha for the majority of his life. And it just feels like he need to close out his loop and move him aside. Now, if Rollo has a plan, it could be that Vixen's on board, but it's possible he's just naive to the whole thing. I see Vixen being someone who is willing to betray Iva very easily if he had the right motivations, the right convincing from someone like Rollo. But it would mean that Vixen would be isolated from Iva going forward all the way into the next season when he starts doing more stuff in England, so it's possible he's still going to be on Iva's side. Now, Iva is a clever character. We can see he's got good strategy, he thinks about things quite carefully, and he's been really reserved lately. He has no reason to trust Rollo or his troops. Anything he makes in his plans should presume a betrayal by Rollo and his troops. He seemed unconvinced with Vixen's statements when they arrived. He's been very careful, very reserved. Not all of his actions have been shown on screen, so they're clearly hiding things from us, the viewer. Then we saw that Iva, even though he's in a huge position of strength, with so many more soldiers, and almost a confirmed win with the amount of support that they have from Rollo, he was willing to jump the gun and imprison Bjorn. He should not be afraid of Bjorn at this point, with all these soldiers behind him, with this clear win behind him, but he still is afraid, and he just wants to take him out as quickly as possible, at huge disadvantage, huge dishonor, breaking the code of conduct and everything, just to get rid of Bjorn now and then. Why would you ever risk that? Why would you do that when your army is humongous compared to theirs, especially after their losses they took in the first battle? It's probably because Iva does not trust Rollo's soldiers' loyalty. So I'm not sure what Iva's plan will be, but it has to be something clever, and he has to be prepared for it. If they don't do anything about this, the show, it'd be very disappointing and very un-Iva-like. I guess we'll just have to see what happens next episode. Okay, so now we're going to have to talk about the huge advancements that have happened in Alfred and the English storyline. I did not expect they would push the narrative so fast in England. I really thought that Alfred and all this kind of stuff would happen in the next half of this season, but instead they've done some really huge leaps and bounds with characters. They've pushed a lot of behind-the-scenes motivations and clearly people thinking about this into some quick, short span of just random decision-making, which normally does happen historically around the deaths of kings, so it makes kind of sense. Everyone seems to just kind of scramble and on the spring make loyalties, and things change drastically when a monarch dies. But damn, it came out of nowhere and it really does increase the pace of the show going into the next season. But rip Avelrith, man. He's like been training for a king his whole life. He doesn't seem incapable. He's well educated. He'll be able to inspire the people. And he's got the support of all the lords and the noblemen and stuff like that. He was in a really good position to be a good king. All she had to do was be like, yo, you should listen to Alfred, or give him like a high military status position where he can do all the strategizing and stuff. You don't have to make Alfred king right now. Like, if he just was the figurehead and the king, and then Alfred did all the behind-the-scenes stuff, it would work out fine. But nah, she's like totally cucked him. Mother of the year, ladies and gentlemen. Mother of the year. Personally, the one thing that would have made this entire thing a lot better, even though it would kind of bring back the tension a bit, I would love to have seen a scene between Ethelred and Alfred, just one-on-one. They have a chat, they talk about their plans for the kingdom, all the kind of stuff, and Alfred uses his plans, his desires, everything. He just talks to him, and shows him, proves to him how good of a leader he could be, the plans he has for the kingdom. And then Ethelred's like, I trust you, brother, I'll back you. Instead, this mother has soured the relationship between these brothers, splintered up what could have been a very strong, clear move of power to make it so that lords feel like it's a bit more wavy and they could probably betray at some point, and also that Alfred can be the one that has the crown and makes the decisions. So Hickman kneels before Lagertha and pledges to fight for her for now and forever. Alfred is crowned King of Wessex, and the greatest reign in that time period begins. The flames from the Tower of Thor spread through the sky, and the community finally breaks with its first death at the hands of another. Make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for my episode 10 review and all the great stuff around that. We're coming to the close of the season, and it should be an amazing finale, and I would love to talk about it with you guys, discuss it with you guys, and hear what you guys think about everything. Also, you should totally like the video. It'd be like really radical if you do that, bro.